And when you look at those main pillars of the quarterback position, Dak Prescott checks all of those boxes. He is a top 10 quarterback. Again, I don't care where you have him ranked in your top 10, but he is in that top 10. Without further ado, let's get into the quarterback tiers list that The Athletic just posted. And the big problem that I have just with this list and a lot of lists that I've been seeing. Dak Prescott outside of the top 10. I don't get that. Dak Prescott, to me, is absolutely a top 10 quarterback in this game. Here's my problem with a lot of quarterback lists out there. People will be afraid to put Dak Prescott in their top 10 because they say, oh, well, his playoff performances aren't that good. Well, okay, if we're going to bring up playoff performances to take Dak Prescott out of the top 10, Lamar Jackson's got to be out of that top 3. Justin Herbert's got to be out of that top 5. And that is my big problem with these lists, is that that's the thing that's held against Dak Prescott. And that's the standard for him. So we should hold that same standard for other quarterbacks as well. If other quarterbacks struggle in the playoffs as well, they should be held to that same standard. Because when I look at Dak Prescott, he has the body of work that makes you say top 10 quarterback. He has the consistency that makes you say top 10 quarterback. He has the skill set that makes you say top 10 quarterback. His ability to elevate the players around him and his team around him makes you say top 10 quarterback. I don't care where you have him ranked in the top 10. If it's number 10, fine, I can live with that. But he is in the top 10. He is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the game. You're not telling me Baker Mayfield, who had one season of high-level play this past season, is better than Dak Prescott. I'm not hearing that. Jared Goff, a guy who is as good as the pieces around him are, he's not going to elevate your team. He is a guy that if your team is great, he can play great. If your team is mediocre, he's going to be mediocre. But Dak Prescott is a guy that when he has a mediocre team, he can make them good. When they're good, they're great. That's the type of quarterback Dak Prescott is. He is a guy who elevates the talent around him, and he has done that, especially throughout the past few years here. I mean, you talk about the fact that they had a top 5 offense in 2022 with Noah Brown as their number 2 receiver. They were number 1 in the league in points per game in 2021 and 2023. This guy has led some very, very high-powered offenses. And these aren't offenses that you look at and say, wow, that's like the Philadelphia Eagles offense when you talk about how talented they are. That's just not the case. He's had some good offensive pieces. 2021, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, that was a good wide receiver unit. But I think the problem that I have with people and how they look at that specific unit is that I think they look at that unit and say, we'll look at Amari Cooper as, oh, look at Amari Cooper in his prime, and he had CD, look at CeeDee Lamb in his prime. No, CeeDee Lamb was a second-year player still developing. Amari Cooper, yes, was, I would say, slightly exiting the prime of his career in 2021. But even still, I kind of think Amari Cooper is an overrated receiver. Like, he was like fringe top 10 guy, but he's not like Jamar Chase or any of these top receivers. He was just a very solid receiver that was an upgrade from what the Cowboys had when they had absolutely no receivers when they traded for him. So that's it's just my big problem that I think people and their perception of Dak Prescott is, well, he's had all these loaded rosters, but he's never been able to get it done. But at the same time, they'll talk about how bad of a general manager Jerry Jones is. I personally do not understand that. We all agree that Jerry Jones is not serious about winning a Super Bowl, right? So everybody agrees with that, but yet the guy who receives the most criticism, I feel like, is the quarterback that I feel has actually bailed that franchise out. He has been the model of consistency within a franchise that is completely unstable, that is in the news all the time. He handles it as well as anybody can handle that situation. And granted, that is not a part of the evaluation. And that's kind of like one thing that annoys me when we talk about quarterback evaluations. We talk about things that aren't related to the quarterback. But I'm just saying those are things that you do have to take into consideration when you look at Dak Prescott. His job is a lot different than Justin Herbert's job. Justin Herbert can go out there and throw, 2 interceptions in a game, and it doesn't get talked about nearly to the extent that Dak Prescott does because he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. And whether you want to admit it or not, it's fine. You don't have to admit the truth. But the truth is, people talk about the Dallas Cowboys. They are the number one team in the sport when it comes to engagement. That's just a fact. Not saying they're the number one team in terms of talent or accomplishments, because they're not, but they are the number one team in the league when it comes to engagement and people talking about them. They're the most talked about team in sports. And I feel like Dak Prescott has handled that extremely well. And I think he deserves credit for that. But like, even when you look at the evaluation side of things, right? I mean, when you look at his skill set, accurate, extremely good footwork, pre-snap reads are fantastic, does a really good job getting his team in and out of plays, really, really does a good job of manipulating defenses and moving safeties and defensive backs with his eyes. I mean, and that's the thing, right? I don't think people actually properly rate some of the things that he can do, right? Like, if Justin Herbert made some of the throws that Dak makes, and I'm not saying that like Justin Herbert can't, but I'm just saying if he did, people would go all over social media. Oh my God, look at Justin Herbert. Look at this amazing throw. And I am a Herbert fan, so that's not Herbert slander. But I mean, that you talk about the Steelers, he had that seam ball to Cavante Turpin where he looked off the safety, and even Mike Tomlin brought it up like, wow, that was a really good play. He had that throw on the sideline against the Steelers. It was 3rd and 14. They were backed in their own, I think it was their own 14. He delivers the ball down the field to CeeDee Lamb between two defenders right on the sideline. Absolute dot. Like, I just don't feel like he gets the type of credit he gets for doing some of the things that he does. This guy can make some ridiculous throws, some flat out ridiculous throws. And he has had seasons where, again, like, what you're getting from Dak Prescott. He has to play better in the playoffs, but I also think the team needs to play better in the playoffs, and the coaches need to be better in the playoffs. And that's kind of another thing that I don't think people take into consideration, is that when you look at this guy's play callers, I mean, you're talking about Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy. Like, these guys aren't sought after commodities. I know Kellen Moore just got a head coaching job, but I think anybody who watched the tape of the Eagles offense last year comes away from that saying they were kind of basic. I mean, because that's what Kellen Moore does. Like, that's like kind of his thing, right? I actually think sometimes his creativity gets him into danger, but that's besides the point. That's where I don't want to get off on a tangent there. But overall, to sum up the point, when you talk about the quarterback position, you have to talk about consistency. Dak Prescott has been consistent. You have to talk about the skill set. Dak Prescott has a very, very good skill set. You have to talk about the fact about quarterbacks elevating what's around them. Dak Prescott elevates what's around him. And when you look at those main pillars of the quarterback position, Dak Prescott checks all of those boxes. He is a top 10 quarterback. Again, I don't care where you have him ranked in your top 10, but he is in that top 10. And I don't understand what executives are looking at when they say that Jared Goff is a better quarterback than him. Jared Goff in no world is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I'm not hearing that conversation at all. I don't want to get off on another Jared Goff tangent, because I will, I will lose it, just like I did last week when I talked about Jared Goff.